Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 629 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Heidi, and as always, I'm happy you're back and equally excited if you're new also to the podcast. Either way, thank you for lifting the vibration of the world by working on being the best version of you that's possible. As you will see from this episode, even though I work daily on my mindset, I still have a lot of work to do. But I'm here for it because there's no shame in growth. So here's what I mean. The other day, I went to the post office, which I don't normally have to do, thank goodness, because I don't have a good attitude about the post office in our town. It is never fully staffed, and the ones that are there do their best to make customers miserable. Do you see what I mean about me having a bad attitude? So I was kind of creating my own destiny here, and I kind of knew it going into it. Anyway, I go to the post office and I wait in the line with my little box that has a prepaid return label, which I had the printed sheet that I thought they would take and then create their own label because that's what they do everywhere else, but not at the post office, apparently. So I wait patiently-ish for my turn, only to be told in a not so nice way that I need to have that label taped on. They don't do that for us. So I said, okay, well, do you have tape here that I could buy or that you could, let me tape this on just real quick? No. I was like, okay, no tape anywhere back there I can use? No. You just need to go buy tape and come back. Next. That is how my seconds at the post office went. I was not a happy camper. But as I walked out, I quickly recovered and I kind of chuckled to myself. This is what happens when you have a bad attitude. And I realized I had been, putting off going to the post office for a week, probably almost 2 weeks, because I knew the experience was going to be awful. That was the loop in my head about it. So how could I have expected it to go any differently when I knew it was going to go bad? And that's when I realized that we all have these loops in our heads, and some of those loops drag us down and some of those loops lift us up. So my husband sent me this cool article about this very thing, which is why I'm doing this episode, I'm certain. But the article talked about these loops we play in our head and how they can be broken down into an accountability loop where we recognize, we own, we forgive, we self-examine, we learn, and then we take action. Or we have the other loop, which is the victim loop, where we ignore and we deny and we blame and we rationalize and we resist and then we hide. Now, some of you, when you heard my story, you may have said, okay, were you being a little hard on yourself? I mean, the post office worker could have been nicer. And it was a really frustrating thing. But my accepting responsibility for my own bad attitude wasn't me punishing myself. It was really me checking myself and recognizing where I had played a role in the whole thing with my attitude, my bad attitude. In that article that Eric sent me, it said accountability is not punishment. It's self-respect. And I agree with that. In that victim loop, it's a downward spiral. I mean, it starts with a situation and then you hide from it and you resist change and you rationalize your inaction, you blame others, deny your role, and just like that, you're back at square one, powerless. In my post office experience, the situation was a long line with an unhelpful clerk. That was it. That was the situation. Now, I could have stormed off and rationalized that post offices are always like this, blamed the staff entirely, denied that my vibe had anything to do with it and hadn't escalated things, and ignored the lesson only to dread the next visit even more, which is all so exhausting. But with the accountability loop. I recognize what happened and I own my part in it. And I forgave myself by laughing it off, and I forgave the clerk because that's probably what she's told to do. They can't tape every person's, label on for them. It's just unsustainable, I'm certain. And that's what I told myself. Anyway, I learned some things which were good for growth. That's an upward cycle. And the article goes on to say that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's clarity. And it then asks, which loop are you feeding and which loop is feeding you? Because if you're living from the victim loop, it's feeding you resentment and stagnation. But if you switch to living from the accountability loop, it feeds you growth and peace. And I think that's what we're all working for, growth and peace. And we have these loops about everything. Maybe think about your relationship with your husband or your wife, and let's say they do something that disappoints you, like forgetting your anniversary or your birthday. Now, you could hide your hurt and blame them by thinking they're always so selfish, and deny any role you played by maybe dropping hints poorly or not saying anything so that you have a reason to be mad and be upset or make them feel bad. That's how resentment builds. It builds in the victim loop. But what if you shifted it to the accountability loop, where you acknowledge your disappointment and maybe you own up that you didn't remind them because, well, you shouldn't have to remind them. I know, I understand. But then you also forgive them, which is not a weakness, remember? And you examine your expectations, and you learn that maybe in the future you need to be clearer on your needs and take a little bit of responsibility there, that if you really want somebody to remember your birthday, you need to remind them because we're busy, and I know that sounds, some people are gonna be like, oh, it sounds terrible, but it's true. If you want somebody to remember your birthday and you're 100% certain that you want them to, remind them. It's helpful. And then actually, finally, in that accountability loop there with your relationship, you could just take action by planning a makeup date together. See, now all of a sudden you're stronger together. It's not building resentment, you're building strength in the togetherness. And the beauty of it is that you enter these loops by being honest. In my post office moment, honesty meant admitting my attitude was half the problem. It wasn't about punishing myself, it was just respect. And forgiveness gave me clarity to move on, and kind of a little bit of a chuckle. And the more we practice this, the better our lives get, because repetitive thoughts wire your brain. Victim loops strengthen negativity. Accountability loops, they rewire our brains for resilience. And that is what we want. My challenge to you this week is to spot one time when you're in a victim loop and flip it to an accountability loop. Accountability and forgiveness aren't buzzwords. They're your ticket out of victim mode. Like my post office trip taught me, we are co-creating our destiny every moment. Feed the right loop consistently and watch the shift. If this resonated, share it with someone who would benefit by the loop theory. And hint, that's everyone. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.